Let me tell you something that's going to make every single Bronson Reed fan in the comments section absolutely lose their minds right now, and I don't care if you disagree with me because what I'm about to say is the absolute truth whether you like it or not. CM Punk is not just back in WWE to collect a paycheck and coast on his legacy. CM Punk is back to systematically dismantle every single person who thinks they're the future of this company, and after what he did to Braun Breaker last night on Raw, after the way he stood in the middle of that ring with Breaker's broken body at his feet and pointed directly at Bronson Reed while delivering the most chilling 3 words in wrestling, "You're next," it's become crystal clear that Punk is on a mission to prove that this so-called new generation of monsters isn't ready for someone who operates on his level. And if that statement makes you angry, if you think I'm disrespecting Reed or Breaker or any of the young talent that WWE is trying to build as the next generation of main eventers, then good, stay angry, because that anger is exactly what CM Punk wants you to feel. He wants you emotionally invested. He wants you defending your favorites. He wants you tuning in next week to see if Reed can do what Breaker couldn't and actually put Punk down for good. But here's the reality that nobody wants to admit out loud. Bronson Reed is walking into the same trap that Braun Breaker just walked into. He's going to underestimate CM Punk because of his age, because of his injuries, because of the 7 years he spent away from WWE, and he's going to learn the exact same painful lesson that Breaker learned last night. You don't bet against CM Punk when he's locked in, when he's motivated, when he's got something to prove, because that's when he's at his absolute most dangerous. Let me take you through exactly what happened last night on Raw because the context is crucial to understanding why CM Punk's warning to Bronson Reed is so significant and so terrifying if you're Reed or anyone else in Punk's crosshairs. The show was building toward this match all week. Braun Breaker has been absolutely dominant since his main roster call-up. He's a second-generation superstar with all the tools. He's got the size, the speed, the power, the charisma, the pedigree. His father and uncle were legends in this business. He was the centerpiece of NXT for his entire run there. WWE has been protecting him, building him up, positioning him as the next big thing. He's beaten everyone they've put in front of him and most of those victories haven't even been competitive. Breaker destroys people. That's his thing. He hits the devastating spear and it's over. His opponents don't kick out. They don't survive. They just lose and then they move on to feuding with someone else while Breaker moves up the card. And then WWE made the decision to put him against CM Punk. Now, on paper this makes sense from WWE's perspective. You take your hottest young prospect and you give him a signature win over a legend to establish him as a legitimate main event player. It's the oldest booking strategy in wrestling. The young lion defeats the aging warrior and ascends to the throne. WWE has done this countless times. They did it with Brock Lesnar and Hulk Hogan. They did it with Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels. They did it with Batista and Ric Flair. You sacrifice the legend to make the star. It's simple, it's effective, it works. Except this time they forgot one critical detail. CM Punk is not a legend who's content to put people over and fade into the background. CM Punk is not here to be a stepping stone for someone else's career. CM Punk came back to WWE after 7 years specifically because he still believes he's the best in the world and he's got something left to prove. You don't make a comeback at his age, after everything he went through, after all the bridges he burned, unless you're absolutely convinced you can still operate at the highest level. The build to this match was intense. Breaker cut promos about how Punk is from a different era, how the business has evolved, how the athletes are bigger and stronger and faster now than they were during Punk's prime. He said Punk was a big fish in a small pond back in his day, but now the pond has sharks in it and Punk is about to get eaten alive. It was effective heel work because there's a kernel of truth to it. The roster is more athletic now. The style has evolved. What worked in 2012 doesn't necessarily work in 2026, but Breaker made the classic mistake of confusing athleticism with wrestling ability, of thinking that because he can bench press more and run faster that means he's the better wrestler. He forgot that CM Punk has been in wars that would break most men. That Punk has outsmarted, outworked, and outlasted everyone who's ever doubted him throughout his entire career. Punk's response was measured but deadly. He didn't yell. He didn't throw tantrums. He simply stated facts. He reminded everyone that he's beaten monsters before. He's beaten athletes before. He's beaten people who were supposed to be impossible to beat, and he did it by being smarter, tougher, and more ruthless than anyone expected. He told Breaker that youth and athleticism mean nothing against experience and ring intelligence. That all the physical gifts in the world don't matter if you don't know how to use them properly. And that Breaker was about to learn a very painful lesson about the difference between being a good wrestler and being a great one. The match itself was an absolute clinic in storytelling and psychology. It started exactly how you'd expect, with Breaker using his size and power advantage to dominate early. He was throwing Punk around the ring like a ragdoll, hitting power moves that would have finished most opponents. The spear that ended so many matches came early, about 8 minutes in, and Breaker covered Punk with all the confidence in the world. The referee counted. 1, 2. Punk kicked out. The look of shock on Breaker's face was perfect because you could see his entire game plan falling apart in real time. That spear was supposed to end it. That spear always ends it. But CM Punk kicked out and suddenly Breaker didn't know what to do. That moment of hesitation was all Punk needed. He started targeting Breaker's legs, chopping down the base, taking away the explosive power that makes Breaker so dangerous. Every kick to the knee, every leg lock, every calculated attack was designed to limit Breaker's mobility and make him wrestle Punk's style of match instead of his own. And that's where CM Punk is truly elite. He doesn't just beat you physically, he beats you mentally. He makes you wrestle his match. He controls the pace, the psychology, the narrative of what's happening in that ring. And Breaker, for all his physical gifts, didn't have the experience to adjust. The ending sequence was beautiful in its brutality. Breaker tried for another spear, the desperation attempt to hit the move that should have already won in the match, but his knee buckled from all the damage Punk had done. He stumbled, and Punk caught him coming in with a knee to the face. Go to sleep. The impact was sickening. Breaker went down like he'd been shot and Punk covered him. 1, 2, 3. The match was over and CM Punk had just defeated one of WWE's most protected young stars clean in the middle of the ring. But that's not even the most significant part of what happened. Because after the match, as Punk was celebrating and the crowd was going absolutely insane, the camera cut to Bronson Reed watching from backstage on a monitor. Reed's been talking for weeks about how he's the real monster on Raw, how he's going to be the one to finally put CM Punk in his place, how Punk's lucky they haven't crossed paths yet because when they do it's going to be a massacre. He's been circling Punk like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. And Punk knew Reed was watching. Everyone knew Reed was watching. So Punk grabbed a microphone while still standing over Breaker's body and he looked directly into the camera. The place got quiet because everyone knew what was coming. And Punk, with that cold calculating look in his eyes, pointed at the camera and said those 3 words that have been reverberating through the wrestling world for the past 24 hours. You're next. Simple. Direct. Devastating. Not a long promo. Not a 15-minute speech. Just 3 words that carried more weight than a 1,000-word manifesto could. You're next, Bronson Reed. What happened to Bron Breakker is exactly what's going to happen to you. You think you're different? You think you're special? You think your size and power make you immune to what I do? You're wrong. And you're about to find out just how wrong you are. The look on Reed's face backstage was priceless. You could see him processing what just happened, what it means, what's coming for him. There was anger there, definitely. But there was also something else. Concern maybe? Respect? The realization that CM Punk isn't just some old guy coasting on nostalgia but an active threat who just took out one of the most dominant forces on Raw? Whatever it was, it made for incredible television and set up what's going to be one of the most anticipated matches of the year. Now let's talk about why this is such a big deal and why Bronson Reed should be legitimately worried despite all his size and power advantages. CM Punk has made a career out of beating people who are bigger than him, stronger than him, more athletic than him. His entire legacy is built on being the underdog who refused to stay down no matter what the odds were. When he was in Ring of Honor, people said he was too small to make it in WWE. When he got to WWE, people said he didn't have the look to be a main eventer. When he won the WWE Championship, people said he'd never main event WrestleMania. And yet Punk proved every single doubter wrong by being tougher, smarter, and more determined than anyone else in the locker room. Bronson Reed is exactly the type of opponent Punk has been dismantling his entire career. Reed is 300 pounds of power and aggression. He's got the tsunami splash that's put countless opponents on the shelf. He's got legitimate toughness from his time wrestling all over the world before getting to WWE. On paper, he should destroy CM Punk. The size advantage alone should be insurmountable. But Reed has a critical weakness that Punk is absolutely going to exploit. Reed relies too heavily on his power game. He's used to being the biggest, strongest guy in every match he's in. He's used to overwhelming opponents with raw force and impact. And when you rely that heavily on one aspect of your game, when you build your entire offensive strategy around power moves and big splashes, you become predictable. And predictable opponents are easy opponents for someone like CM Punk who's studied this business for over 20 years. Punk is going to do to Reed exactly what he did to Breakker. He's going to take away Reed's base, work the legs, limit the mobility, force Reed to wrestle a technical match instead of a power match. And Reed doesn't have the technical background to hang with Punk in that style. Reed's strength is his strength, if that makes sense. When he can use his size and power, he's incredibly dangerous. But when you take that away, when you make him wrestle on the mat, when you make him think instead of just smash, he's significantly less effective. Punk knows this. Punk has been watching Reed's matches, studying his patterns, identifying his weaknesses. That warning wasn't just a threat. It was a promise backed by a detailed game plan. The other factor working in Punk's favor is experience in big match situations. Reed has been impressive since his main roster call-up, no question. But he hasn't been in the kind of high-pressure, high-stakes situations that Punk has built his entire career around. Punk has main event pay-per-views. He's wrestled hour-long matches. He's been in every conceivable stipulation match you can imagine. He knows how to handle pressure, how to work a big match, how to pace himself through a 20 or 30-minute war if that's what it takes. Reed is still learning those lessons. He's still figuring out the difference between winning a 10-minute sprint on weekly television and delivering a main event performance that people remember forever. The psychological aspect can't be overlooked either. Punk is already in Reed's head and the match hasn't even been officially announced yet. That warning, delivered while standing over Breaker's defeated body, was designed specifically to make Reed think about what's coming, to make him doubt himself, to plant that seed of "what if Punk is right, what if I'm not ready for this" in the back of his mind. And once doubt creeps in, once you start questioning yourself, you've already lost half the battle. Punk understands psychological warfare better than almost anyone in wrestling history. He knows how to get under people's skin, how to make them emotional, how to get them to wrestle his match instead of their own. The stakes of this eventual match are massive for both men but especially for Reed. If Punk beats him after just beating Breaker, that establishes Punk as the definitive alpha on Raw and it severely damages Reed's credibility as a monster heel. You can't be the unstoppable force if you get stopped by a guy who's supposedly past his prime. Reed needs to beat Punk to justify all the talk he's been doing, to prove he's different from Breaker, to show he actually is ready for the main event level. But Punk needs this win too to continue his narrative of proving he's still the best in the world, that his comeback wasn't just nostalgia but the beginning of one final legendary run. WWE is in an interesting position with this storyline because they've got two competing interests. On one hand, they want to build new stars like Reed and Breaker who can carry the company for the next decade. On the other hand, CM Punk is one of the biggest draws they have and his matches are consistently the highest rated segments on Raw. Do you sacrifice Punk's momentum to build Reed? Do you have Punk go over again and risk making your young talent look weak? It's a legitimate booking dilemma and the decision they make is going to have long-term implications for Raw's creative direction. My prediction, and this is just speculation based on how WWE typically operates, is that Punk beats Reed but in a way that protects Reed. Maybe Reed gets himself disqualified because he loses control and starts using weapons. Maybe there's interference from other heels who see Punk as a threat. Maybe it's a countout where Reed powerbombs Punk through a table but Punk technically wins the match. Some finish that allows Punk to get the victory and continue his winning streak while keeping Reed looking strong and dangerous for future programs. That's how you satisfy both needs without completely sacrificing one for the other. But here's what I really want to happen, and what I think would be best for business. I want to see CM Punk and Bronson Reed in a 30-minute war that tears the house down and establishes both men as top-tier main event level performers. I want to see them beat the hell out of each other, kick out of each other's finishers, push each other to their absolute limits. I want a match where Reed shows that he can hang in deep water, that he can work a longer match, that he has more to his game than just power moves. And I want Punk to show that he can still go at the highest level, that the Breaker match wasn't a fluke, that he's genuinely still one of the best workers in the world. Give them time, give them freedom to tell their story, and let them create a moment people remember. The crowd reaction to Punk's warning has been overwhelmingly positive. Social media exploded. Everyone's talking about when this match is going to happen, what stipulation it should have, who's going to win. Raw's ratings this week were significantly up partly because people wanted to see what Punk did to Breaker and how he'd call out Reed. This is exactly the kind of compelling television that WWE needs to be producing every single week. Clear storylines with real stakes featuring performers people actually care about. It shouldn't be this hard and yet WWE struggles with it constantly. This Punk versus the New Generation Monsters storyline is working because everyone involved is talented, everyone's motivations make sense, and the matches have been delivering. Looking ahead, there are so many directions this could go beyond just a singles match between Punk and Reed. Maybe it becomes a triple threat with Breaker wanting revenge. Maybe other young stars align with Reed and Breaker to form a faction designed to take out Punk and any other veterans they see as gatekeepers. Maybe established stars align with Punk to fight back against this new generation. The possibilities are endless and all of them are intriguing because the foundation is so strong. What's most impressive about all this is that CM Punk is making it look easy. He's not wrestling every week. He's being protected by WWE's creative team, used strategically in big matches and angles. But when he does appear, when he does wrestle, it matters. Everything he does feels important, feels consequential, feels like it's building towards something. That's the mark of a true top guy. Not someone who's on the show every week doing inconsequential things but someone whose presence elevates everything around them. The warning Punk delivered to Bronson Reed is going to be remembered as one of the iconic moments of this year in WWE. It was simple, it was effective, it was perfectly executed. 3 words that told an entire story and set up weeks or months of compelling television. That's the power of great booking combined with great performance. Punk knew exactly how to deliver that line. He knew the impact it would have. he knew Reed was watching. He knew the audience was hanging on every word, and he delivered it with the confidence of someone who's been in this exact position dozens of times before. Bronson Reed has a choice to make now. He can respond with anger and aggression, rushing into this match without a real game plan and playing directly into Punk's hands. Or he can take time, study Punk's matches, identify weaknesses, come up with a strategy that plays to his strengths while negating Punk's advantages. The smart move would be the latter, but Reed has been portrayed as a hot-headed monster who acts on instinct rather than strategy. So he'll probably do something stupid like attack Punk backstage next week, start a brawl, demand the match happen immediately, and Punk will smile and nod because that's exactly what he wants Reed to do. This is shaping up to be the feud of the winter heading into WrestleMania season. Whether the match happens at Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, or even at WrestleMania itself, it's going to be one of the most anticipated matches of the year. The contrast in styles, the generational clash, the contrasting philosophies about what makes a great wrestler, all of it combines to create a legitimately compelling story that transcends the usual good guy versus bad guy dynamic. And at the center of it all is CM Punk proving once again why he's one of the most important wrestlers of the last 20 years. Why his presence elevates everyone and everything around him. Why WWE fought so hard to bring him back after years of bad blood and burnt bridges. Because when CM Punk is locked in, when he's motivated, when he's got something to prove, there are very few people in the history of this business who can touch him. Braun Breaker learned that lesson last night. Bronson Reed is about to learn it soon. And anyone else who doubts CM Punk in 2026 is going to learn it eventually. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think Reed has what it takes to beat Punk. Tell me how you'd book this match. Tell me what stipulation you want to see. Tell me if you think I'm underestimating Reed or overrating Punk. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications because we're going to be covering every single development in this story as it unfolds. CM Punk just put the entire Raw roster on notice, and I cannot wait to see what happens when he and Bronson Reed finally collide.